I'm going to share my opinion as we go along. Please feel free to share your opinion.
I mean, if you insist. Hiya guys, and welcome back to the Let's Shit on the Right Wing show. Woo! Christ. I finally did it. I've finally gone for Siahs Talks. This is someone that I've been recommended a while ago, like ages ago, and I've just kept putting it off because so many things kept coming up and I hadn't got round to doing it. But we're finally here. So, Siahs Talks. This YouTuber, well, obviously is a normal right-wing grifter like everyone else I cover. So, yeah. Should we just get right into the video?
Alrighty, so what did I tell you guys? What did I say?
I don't know. You tell me.
After I announced that the latest Doctor Who featuring Ncuti Critics was an epic failure in terms of rating. It's the worst rating for a Christmas special ever, and the second worst rating or second lowest rating after the exact first episode of the Doctor in 1963. Right? This is the worst rating that they've seen.
Jesus Christ, someone else who talks about the ratings. Right, let's do this again. So, the Christmas special overnight ratings, 4.73 million. Yeah, not a lot. No one's saying it wasn't. Then they ended up after a week being 7.49 million, which is still quite high. Now, you've got to remember that back then, things were different. Overnight ratings were gonna be higher because there was less for you to watch it. Doctor Who is now accessible in so many other regions. There are so many more factors accompanying to the ratings. It's not as simple as it was back then. So comparing these to the past, you can't really do that because it's not like the past. The terms and conditions, they're all different. So I don't really get it. But then again, that's just me. I'm just a left-wing grifter. Jesus Christ on a motorbike. Yeah, I've said this before. I'll say it again. The ratings aren't actually as bad as these guys are claiming. Not at all. Like, I've said them all before. I'll say it all again. Because unlike these guys, I've actually done research.
Lo and behold, in less than 24 hours after that rating news came out, you get this from Newsweek, just like clockwork. Doctor Who Christmas special sparks racist backlash. Go figure. So very, very, very well expected. And you know what these guys are going to do? They're going to dig into the abyss of that place known as X, formerly known as Twitter, to find anything, anyone mentioned anything about race, and they will say this is racism, like they usually do.
Well, you don't really need to search into the abyss. X is known for having loads of people just shit on tiny little things that are different. Like, it's so toxic. Even when it was known as Twitter, it was so toxic. But we'll move past that. You don't really need to go that far to find people that don't like the fact that the Doctor is played by a black man. You just need to type in Doctor Who and woke in the same sentence. It's how I have found so many people that I've covered on this channel, barring the exception of you and it's either Will of the Fans or Heel versus Babyface. I think it was Will of the Fans, because hello. Speaking of past people I've covered, if you go check in the top right corner in the iCard now, you see those videos. And in that playlist, go check them out. I do recommend it. As I was saying, you don't need to search that far because you guys are all out there screaming into the abyss that you're actually talking about. Because at the end of the day, You want to be louder than those who barely have a voice so that you can shut them up and make them stand in line. Guess what, bitch? I ain't doing that.
Without further ado, let's have some fun now, shall we? So, when a new doctor is announced to play the doctor, they are accustomed to criticisms. This is because the show has a passionate fan base, with every fan having a favorite incarnation of the main character. That's absolutely true. While most people quickly learn to love the new actor as soon as they watch a Doctor's debut episode, this year there have been racist and homophobic trolls crawling out of the woodworks. Just like they said when it was Jodie Whittaker's son, they said there were sexist and bigoted trolls crawling into the woodworks. This is the same thing they do.
And the reason behind this is because anytime there's something slightly different thrown into the woodworks, anything slightly different to the societal norms thrown in, people are going to complain. Correction, the right wing are going to complain because it is not normal, in quotation marks. But that always begs me to say, what is normal? Define normal. I'm just going to very quickly do a quick tangent on the term homophobia, though. In my personal opinion, that doesn't make any sense. Like, it made sense when the thing first came out because people were scared of change. People were scared of gays and anyone different. However, now it's just plain ignorance rather than a fear. So, in my opinion, we kind of need a new word for homophobia and transphobia because it's not fear, it's just plain ignorance at this point.
Because they are using this to cover up for poor story writing.
Admittedly, this story came out after the ratings, so you can claim that. However, when it came to Jodie's time to take over the reins, people complained before her debut episode, before her regeneration scene even came out. So you cannot say poor writing quality is why people dislike Jodie's Doctor when she was announced, kind of thing. Don't get me wrong, Series 11, 12 and 13 had some poor creative decisions, but rewatching them has kind of given me a new sense of appreciation for them. I mean, don't get me wrong, Orphan 55, absolute dog shit. Can you hear me? Absolute dog shit. Praxius, absolute dog shit. Those 3 episodes of Series 12, absolute dog shit. I cannot sit back through them. But that doesn't mean you had poor quality stories, like only when this woke mob took over. Go back, Love and Monsters, absolutely abysmal. Fear Her, not great. I wouldn't call it absolutely abysmal because I enjoyed that and I actually see story potential for a sequel story around that. But like, you want to go back as well, there's fucking 42, although admittedly that's also a Chibnall story.
Nobody has actually said how good this thing is. Some people said, well, I had a little bit of fun with it. I mean, it was quirky, it was this. Chutigwatwa was absolutely amazing because there's nothing else they can say other than that, because if they do, they will be deemed as racist. So they have to praise the actor. And his combination with his co-star, they were the chemistry was so fantastic. But yeah, what about the storyline? Nope, nobody's really talking about the storyline because maybe it was horrible. I haven't seen it, so I'm using maybe.
Okay, so I have slight respect for you then, because you said you haven't seen it, so you can't make a comment. Unlike most people I cover, they make a comment and say, this is how it was. Then when pressed to say haven't seen it, I was like, oh no, I haven't seen it, but this is how it is. Like, look back, I've covered some people. Fucking Will of the Fans, he watches it just to complain. I said so himself. But I have slight respect for you then. However, doesn't mean I completely agree with you. That you can critique a doctor without being deemed as racist. You could critique Jodie's Doctor without being deemed sexist. In my personal opinion, his energy, his charisma Ncuti Gatwa fit straight into the role in his solo story. I will say in his debut episode in The Giggle, he came across as bland in some scenes, and the catch scene, amazing. But some of the story resolutions in The Giggle, like for example, getting a second TARDIS, that just feels cheap. Don't worry, The Giggle, What Went Right, that's coming soon. If you want to check out my previous What Went Right, you can check in the iCard now. But I'm going to say this about the Christmas special. It wasn't written to be good. It was written as an introductory piece. Like, if you look back, introductory pieces were kind of there. The 11th Hour was an introductory piece that was amazing. Like Stephen Moffat. Mwah, the king. Cannot wait for Boom. But yeah, you can go back, see introductory pieces that are not amazing pieces of writing. Like it's in the show. But Russell T Davies has mentioned that this wasn't supposed to be an amazing piece of writing. Like, this wasn't supposed to be an amazing story with an amazing villain, because it wasn't focusing on the villains. It wasn't focusing on any of that. It was focusing on setting things up, which I think is what it accomplished and what it achieved. It set up Ruby's story with her mother. It set up how Ncuti Gatwa's Dr. B. I do not like that sonic screwdriver. I do think it's like a remote control, but I think it'll eventually warm up to me like the sonic sunglasses did. But yeah, it wasn't meant to be a beautiful piece speaking about politics or any of that, like Russell T Davies has written in the past a lot. It was supposed to be an introductory piece on the characters, setting up stories, setting up everything that's to come. Like, hello, that's what you do with an introductory piece.
Some have taken to X, formerly known as Twitter, to criticize the BBC show for becoming woke propaganda.
Now, he's about to make what I believe is a good point. However, it stems into a long-ass rant. So I'm actually going to speed it up. And I am sorry. You can slow it down if you did want to. So I'm going to give you that chance to here and now. Because, like, this is a long-ass rant that I do actually want to talk about.
Now, this reminds me of a person who left in the comment the other day when I made the video about the doctor, having his horse rating, saying that they are disappointed that a black man doesn't know the meaning of woke. And I laughed. Like as if knowing the meaning of woke is a prerequisite to being black. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, being black is not something you earn. It's not something you achieve. It's something you're born with. The same thing goes for being white. This is why I don't go with the idea of the how to be an anti-racist ideology and movement pushed by Abraham X. Kendi. I don't buy into all that, because you cannot tell me that an entire race is just racist and another race is incapable of racism. I don't buy into any of that. I really don't buy into any of that at all. Miss me with that absolute nonsense. I don't need to know the meaning of woke to be black, even though I do know the meaning of woke. I know the origins of woke. I know it started from a good place, but it got co-opted. And the people that actually pushed this co-opting and hijacking was actually the people that started Black Lives Matters. The three women, whom two of them happen to be lesbians, that were pushing the ideology of black people and black women and black lesbian women facing oppression, because wokeness is about you coming into an awareness of the racism and social injustices being faced by black people. They included women and they included, what do you call it? They included women and they included queerness into it. And because they included this thing, they hijacked the movement from being a movement about racism and systemic injustices against black people or social injustices to social injustices against queer people. And so that now includes all the members of LGBTQ, which is the trans people, and everybody else, which now includes feminist movement, which is the feminist agenda, because they are women. And this is how it got co-opted. And then everybody jumped in. Disabled people jumped in and said they were facing systemic injustices or social injustices. And so did fat people jump in and say they were facing social injustices. And that's how everything became woke. You are dummy.
I want to start this by saying, finally, a right-wing grifter that actually knows the meaning of woke, which means I can actually have a decent debate with this person. So, like, now, in regards to the quote-unquote corruption, it wasn't corrupted, it was expanded, which is a normal thing that occurs during a process called progression. When something progresses, it expands. It was, back then, the oppression started mainly with black people, and woke was created to combat that. Yeah, no one's denying that. But having it expanded to include more people that are oppressed now is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. Countering oppression, attacking oppression head on is a good thing, because then the world starts to progress forward instead of moving backwards. So having it include the LGBT community, having it include women's rights, having it include all of this will just help those who are stuck in the past move forward. And if they don't want to move forward, if they want to stay stuck in the past, then they can be stuck in the past and forgotten. But what's wrong with having progression move forwards rather than it be halted? Because the whole point of that to begin with was to have things move forwards. Because if all of that didn't work, could you say that today you'd not be oppressed? Could you say that today, in today's society, if it wasn't for all of that, that you'd be living the life that you want to today? Could you? Or would you still be facing all of that hate and racism and hurt? Because I tell you now, you would. So why subject people who are still suffering with that to things that you suffered with? That anyone suffered with, that people that were different suffered with. Like, I don't understand that. And I know that was a big, long-winded thing, and I wanted to keep all of that in because I couldn't find a good place to cut it. But what's the point in oppressing so many people now when that is what was fought against when the term was created?
So if you're claiming wokeness is something that is just a black, you're just a number in a group of people, amongst many other group of people in today's world who are claiming that they are facing social injustices. So this is what wokeness means today. Wake up and smell the coffee, right? Before you say, oh, this dude doesn't know he's a black person. I don't give a shit if you think I don't know what wokeness means. Because the reality of it is, I'm a black man, and it's not something that I achieved. It is something that I was born with.
But you could say that for LGBT people as well, and women as well. Do you think that LGBT people, that me as a trans person, do you think that I chose to be trans, that I chose to face discrimination, injustice, and hate every second of my day, every second of the day that I live? I don't. I do anything to change myself. But that includes lying to myself and making myself feel that hurt. You were born a black straight man, and I was born a white trans woman, because throughout my entire childhood, everything that I felt, my emotional state, all of it, you're not the only person that faces injustice and discrimination anymore. Sorry to say that. So to say woke should only mean what it used to mean is completely undermining and pushing away the people that feel oppression today, which makes you stuck in the past.
Let's see some of these comments that were made that were so racist, that it's a racist backlash that this Doctor Who was facing, according to Newsweek. It said, RIP Doctor Who. It's still trending. After a month, it is still trending on Twitter. Ruled by BBC, who wants to turn a straight white Doctor Who into a black gay doctor. How is that racist? That's a statement of fact. And this is the reality of what we face today, where they say words are violent.
But until Jodie Whittaker came along, the Doctor was always a man. No, the Doctor wasn't always straight. Crying out loud. He fucking kissed Jack. Well, Jack kissed him, but he didn't say anything against it. He didn't have a, you couldn't do that because I'm fucking straight. He didn't have anything like that. He didn't care. Like, fucking look at 11. All but one kiss he shared with River was awkward. You could see there's awkwardness when Amy kissed him. That scene should never have happened, by the way, in Flesh and Stone. Never should have happened. When Clara kisses it, as in the Victorian Clara, when the Victorian Clara kisses him, you could see the same kind of shock, struggle. What is this? I'm not used to this. Anytime a kiss is initiated on him, he doesn't like it. And that kind of shows Ace vibes. It kind of gives Ace vibes. Like, hello, there's videos going around of the 11th Doctor being asexual for God knows how many minutes straight. But, like, the Doctor doesn't care. He's a character. Like, if you want to say that he's straight, he would have had a problem with Jack giving him a kiss back in Parting of the Ways, but he didn't. He didn't have a problem with it at all. He just brushed it off and didn't care. No fucking straight guy would do that. They'd have a fucking go. They'd beat the shit out of a guy that did that. And I was going to say unless they were drunk, but I'd probably just feel the fire. Do you not see how stupid you are? Like, if you want to say the Doctor was always gonna be a man, you're wrong. Fucking John Nathan Turner was contemplating hiring a woman for the 6th Doctor, casting a female lead for the 6th Doctor before Colin Baker. There's an interview. I'll see if I can find it and I'll put it right here. But he said that in an interview on live telly. So this entire thing goes way back into the classics. Like, but that's okay. You could just sit there and say that the Doctor's always been a straight white male.
And this is the reality where they say facts are hate speech. Facts are hate speech. We've seen people face this, where somebody like, what do you call her? Adele would make a statement that she loves being a woman and she loves the idea that there's a category for women in awards, and they say that's a hate speech and they labeled her a TERF, right? Straight away. Or somebody like J.K. Rowling, who talked about women being women and men being men and, trans being trans and whatever, and they labeled her, that her speech is hate speech.
Yes, J.K. Rowling, the woman who responded to trans women are women with no. Just no. Like, there's define a woman is saying you can define a woman is like saying you can define a man. You can't, because there's not a straight definition. Like, if you wanted to define a fucking woman, you ask, do you want me to define a trans woman? Do you want me to define a biological woman? Do you want me to define a cis woman? What do you want me to define? Like, it's not as easy as that. Okay? Like, plus, the term woman does not mean female, if you want to use that. Woman was never associated with the sex. It was associated with the gender. Okay? So, if you want to say a male or a female, that easily associates with the biological sex. Okay, because gender has always been a spectrum. Like, you go back, there's cultures that have always had multiple genders, because it's always been a spectrum. Just because it's now something that's become more of a norm in Western society, it doesn't make it bad. Oh wait, it does to you guys. But like, if saying trans women are females, then that's wrong. That is wrong. No, they're not. No, we're not. But we're trans women. Because there's a difference between a woman and a biological female. Just like there's a difference between a man and a biological male. That is a matter of fact.
just to make it more diverse for black gay community. That's the funny thing. You're making this for a community that didn't care if Doctor Who was white in the first instance. They watched it regardless.
Hang on. Are you putting Ncuti Gatwa's whole schmidt as the Doctor down to his identity as a gay man and the fact that he's black? No one's doing that for the black community. There's no fucking basis for those claims. Like, you could just say, look at it, there it is. But you could say that about anything, for fuck's sake. They're not doing it for a specific community. They're not doing it to be different. The Doctor has always been able... Like, Time Lords have been known to change gender. Like, that was established way... at least back in Matt Smith's era. Like, there's been species of different colour in Doctor Who for a while. Like, hello, there's bluish. There's people that are blue in fucking Doctor Who. There's been 2 of them in series 10 alone. Like, but even Nadol said that he should go back to blue, which is kind of a fun passing comment about the future. But don't you see? It doesn't matter if the Doctor is bi, gay, whatever the fuck they want to identify as. It doesn't matter about the colour of their skin. It's the same fucking character.
The same so-called communities that you try to pander to, black people, we watched the Doctor when he was a straight white male and we enjoyed it. Not because he was a straight white male, but because the storylines were great. Right? Because the villains were iconic. Because the movie or the series was interesting. It had nothing to do with that person's race. So you changing them to pander to us is nonsense. And it's just like somewhere in this article where they said something about Ncuti Gatwa being the first black Doctor Who.
But that's just not true. Because Jo Martin, she was the first black Doctor. Technically. This is a whole... The Timeless Child arc is a whole thing. And I'm glad that RTD's not retconning it, because there's a lot you could do with that arc. But it was handled horrendously, and it could have been done better, and Chibnall could have fleshed it out over multiple seasons. Like, yeah, he had his 5-year plan. He should have done 5 seasons, but like he didn't, because then you could have properly fleshed out the Timeless Child arc and properly sorted it and made it something that's actually decent. Because, like, yeah, it wasn't amazing at all.
They said, someone else said, someone please tell me it's a P word. Hashtag Doctor Who a black doctor. Viewing figures 0. No offense for F's sake, but Doctor Who ain't black. That's another statement of fact. That's not racism. That's it. And I wouldn't be surprised if this person is actually black saying this. I wouldn't be surprised. Neither is he a way man. Got it? Make it so. Do as you are told, said another.
Does any of you know what progression is? Like, moving forwards. This isn't... The target audience has moved on, has moved forwards. Doctor Who is targeted towards progression. Things aren't the same as they were 50 years ago, 40 years ago, 30 years ago. They're not the same. So you stop living in the past. Like, it's starting to move forward. Things are starting to move forward. That's a good thing. And, like, how can it not be a good thing for things to move forwards? Because if you don't move forwards, you can never change. And if you're stuck in one thing, you'll just stop. The Cybermen are a good analogy for this, because the Cybermen end up sticking as one thing and they just stop. Once they've got their goal and achieved it, what happens then? They just stop. The world is forever changing. So having things like this changed is just natural. It's normal. It's exactly what you'd expect. But that's all from me. If you enjoyed, then please do leave a like. I have some things coming soon. It's gonna be big. Well, apparently. Please let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to have a nice friendly debate with you on these things, because it's fun, it's enjoyable. But yeah, if you think Doctor Who should just stay stuck in the past, then let me know. I know this video is a little longer than anticipated. I may end up just cutting it down, because right now I've got it at half an hour. But yeah, thank you very much. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next one. Ciao for now.